to chapter 7. Okay.
Okay.
I want to share the PowerPoint with you. Here is it. Solitude of self. We stopped at analogy. And we said in analogy, we compare two things. Two things compared to two things, girls. That's it. Two things compared to two things. This is an analogy. So here, when you compared you to my thoughts and food to life, it's analogy. Okay? Grade 11.
Okay, yes, miss.
You agree with me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Miss, today we'll take introduction or the
Yes.
story?
Only the introduction and this, the beginning.
Okay.
Okay. Here we said the analogy and the metaphor. We finished analogy and metaphor, girls. Okay. Go to deductive reasoning. What is deductive reasoning? What is it? Deductive reasoning is acceptance of premises will lead me to conclusion. Again, girls, this is referred to Aristotle. Again, Aristotle, yes, Aristotle was the man, the first philosopher of the world. He was the first man to think and encourage people to think and observe and wonder and get answers. In deductive reasoning, I have a premises like a theory. Monkeys like bananas. We have monkeys that the monkeys like bananas. Lucy is a monkey, so Lucy will do what? The conclusion.
We'll eat banana?
Yes, Lucy likes bananas. This is deductive reasoning. All black men don't have the right to vote. Frederick Douglass, a black man. So the conclusion is what? Frederick Douglass
Can't vote.
Cannot vote.
can't vote. غلا. غلا. غلا.
Yes, teacher.
You're here?
Yeah.
Okay, so think with me for deductive reason. I don't know. Here is it. For deductive reasoning. And we said it's by Aristotle, an ancient Greek philosopher. You start with the premise, leads you to conclusion. Premises is like theories. You took it in math. Did you take them in math, girls?
What is it?
No.
Yes, the theory, the math, the premise.
Yeah, we took last year theories. We almost take theories in math.
Yes. So read it, Yaghala, from here.
Read what?
PowerPoint.
The pictures or the...
No, from the beginning, dear.
A logical process that moves from general premises to specific assertions. Deductive reasoning is based on the assumption that its founding premises are true. For example, the first premise is that all insects have 6 legs. The second premise is that ants have 6 legs, and the conclusion is that ants are insects.
So can you explain this, Yaghala, for me? Can you explain this premise for me and the conclusion?
Yeah, they said that ants are insects and they have also 6 legs.
This is the conclusion. How did you know that insects?
I don't know.
The premise says that all insects have 6 legs.
Yes.
All insects have 6 legs. Ant has 6 legs. So ants is what?
Insects.
Insects. This is the conclusion. The premises, all men are mortal. All men will die. Socrates is a man. So therefore, Socrates is a mortal. He will die at the
He's
end.
immortal.
This is, girls. Now, teacher, it is so obvious. Yani, we understand something. We got put them together. This is it. At that time, it was as we said in the rhetoric devices and the idea, the story of how Aristotle starts to think. And as we said, he was killed at the end because he encouraged the youth to work their minds. At that time, it was new for them to start thinking. It was new for them to start thinking. With me?
Yes.
So to make this a premise and this a connection, it's a great work. Aristotle started it and we are doing it now. Okay, then we go to the rhetoric and we've read the rhetoric many times. How the author or a speaker influence others, persuade others. It may include logical or emotional appeals. The art of persuasion. The rhetoric devises locus, ethos, and passive. Okay, girls? For the academic vocabulary, allusion, analogy, deductive reasoning, and rhetoric.
Okay.
You understand the 4 of them?
Yes.
Are you here, grade 11, or you slept?
Yeah, we're here.
No, miss, we're here.
Allusion, then
بس للأمانة يعني I'm sleepy.
wash your face and come. يلا يا هدى.
يا
Wash your
الله.
face and come يا هدى.
Okay.
Allusion, analogy, deductive reasoning, and rhetoric. Because now we will move to the making connection. Making connection. We will read an excerpt from a book written by Edward H. Clarke. The book is Sex in Education. And what he means here with sex is the male or female. Sex is gender here. Sex in education, a fair chance for girls. Okay? With me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so Serena?
Yes, ma'am.
Read Serena from the book 135.
Okay. Here,
135.
Miss, I'm reading.
Yeah,
Miss, can you hear me?
yes.
Okay. Wait. It is idle from here.
Yes.
It is idle to say that what is right for man is wrong for woman. Pure reason, abstract right and wrong, have nothing to do with the gender. They neither recognize nor know it. They teach that what is right or wrong for man is equally right and wrong for woman. Both sexes are bound by the same code of morals. Both are amenable to the same divine law. Both have a right to do the best they can. Or, to speak more justly, both should feel the duty and have the opportunity to do their best. Each must justify its existence by becoming a complete development of manhood and womanhood, and each should refuse whatever limits or dwarfs that development.
Yes, we are talking about what? We are talking about the role of women and how they changed over the United States. So here, what is the main message he wants to say here, girls?
That men
Both are equal.
are equal.
Yes, that he wants to call that men and women are equal. They are equal in right and wrong. They are bounded by the same code of morals. Moral. Yani a woman can't cheat and a man too cannot cheat. Both are amenable to the same divine law. in front of law, of divine law. It means in front of Allah laws, and even it is in Islam, girls. When two make the same sin, when they are confronted or stand in front of Allah, both of them will be punished, not only women. Okay, so both of them in front of the divine law, equal in front of divine law. Both have a right to do the best they can or speak more justly. Both should feel the duty and have the opportunity to do their best. Each must justify its existence by becoming a complete development of manhood and womanhood. And each should refuse whatever limits or dwarfs that development. So what comparison does the writer make between men and women? Girls.
They're equal.
Hmm?
They're both equal.
Mhm.
They are equal.
The men and women are equal. Mm.
So in this excerpt, there's no comparison. Yeah, both of them are equal. It's
Yes.
just that we, in our traditions and like that, they just make everything that a woman makes, it will be like so magnified and oh my God, and how. And men, when they do things wrong, it's fine. Everyone makes mistakes and like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
مستعلى هلا, by the way. يعني that's our حال.
Yes. Yes. That he calls that men are equal in front of divine law. They are equal in front of law, and they should be treated equally.
Miss,
Right?
can we go to the bathroom?
Yes, go. In this excerpt, in this chapter, you will be reading a comparison between men and women by a famous suffragist who worked to gain the women's right to vote. So they wanted women to do what, girls? To vote. Women were not allowed to vote.
So at that time, only white men, like no black men and women wasn't allowed to vote.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. So even the white Americans, they find discrimination between the men and white and men and women. So Huda says that till now we still find discrimination between women and
Yeah,
men.
Miss, can I tell you an example?
Yes.
Miss, it's always like it's been for this whole summer. My aunt, okay, she always say that men or the boys, when they grow, they are their education and their jobs is more important than women, because when they grow up they will help their parents. It's not about the family,
Yes,
it's
it is
about
a
their
very
parents.
important point. So you also
Yeah.
see that they are not educationally equal.
Yes, and it's not not in education, but in their mind that our education is not as important as the boys, because in their mind, like I can't help my parents. I'm the biggest, I'm the oldest in my family, okay, and she has the oldest is my cousin, a boy. So and she in her thinking, I can't help my family when I grow up. It's only for me. When I work or the job is I will benefit myself only, not my family. And that's والله كتير بقهر. I just want to grow up and prove her wrong للأمانة. Yeah.
That women also can supply their families financially.
Yes, I can work and get money and like there's no
Remember
difference.
when we discussed a part and then we said that, but actually I don't remember with you or with grade 10. This is the problem. I always confuse that in the Congress passed laws to allow women to have the same salaries, to get the same salaries as men, because till now in United States, men get more salaries, higher salaries than women.
Yes, I think we
Uh,
took something like that. So that's the problem in their mind, that we can't our studies, our education, our jobs, the salary is not as important as men, because men will supply the family and will like that.
Yes, yes, yes. Anyone else has any idea, girls? Girls? Only Huda?
I think
Miss I
in
am with
US.
هدى in some point بس إنه بالأذر يعني I am يعني ضد العكس
How? Tell me.
إنه مس like إنه for example إنه both are important.
Mm,
Okay, both men and women,
mm,
but men have more responsibilities.
mm,
He
mm.
have a family, he have kids for paying schools, restaurants, paying for the house, the store, traveling. يعني when he
Yes.
wants to marry. But as
But they are
independent, like each one, يعني كل واحد each one alone he is important. But when we want as a family, no, the men have more responsibilities. So يعني
I
if
Yes.
the
don't think
woman
it's always
اشتغلت
important. No,
it's
it's not
problem.
always the man's responsibility to like be responsible for his family. You know, they can both share it. It's not always the
Yeah,
man.
I know بس
Yes,
إنه
I'm with
يعني
Nancy.
yeah I
Mm.
know بس إنه مين اللي أكتر
بس
يعني who have the
actually
more
لا
responsibilities.
ما
I
في
don't think في
في
حدا أكتر.
كتير
For
They can
women
example,
share,
like
they
a
can
girl can grow up and
family
get
make
married
everything.
and she'd still refuse for her husband to pay for everything. Like sharing is something very important. I think if you just
yeah they
depend on a
can share
guy,
for
that's
example
not
in
good for your relationship. What are your
Yes.
kids?
Yes. But
they
Maya
can
also
share
has a point that she has more responsibilities.
yeah like
No,
إنه
miss
بس إنه
If we are
sharing
talking about, if we
yes
talk about the typical form of a family, يعني not special cases of families, that the man has to pay everything, right?
yeah,
yeah
especially
بس this is the
Miss, I
يعني
think this
Miss
has to do
Hala,
with someone's point of view on things like this. It's about how the person thinks.
Yes.
yes miss. It's also miss before أول شيء من زمان miss women were only to bring kids and like that,
Yes.
just to
As we said, they were not even allowed to vote.
their main
Girls,
job.
I want to show you something. It's يعني not so related to the topic, but I love you to listen. I will play it for you, and inshallah you like it.
Okay.
This is a speech said by Barack
Attendant
Obama.
Dr. Patrick
in a
Murphy,
speech.
senior staff,
What can you see
Principal
it, girls?
Doris Jackson, Wakefield faculty, and of course,
We
my
can
fellow.
Girls, can you
hear,
see?
but I can see something white.
I am honored to have chosen this, as well as the students across America today. Over the past 3 years, I've taken advantage of every
We can't
academic,
see.
extracurricular,
I'm
and
trying to
community
show.
opportunity that has been presented to me. As I reflect, a
teacher we
scholar
can
expressed disappointment within my writing and
Can you
challenged me
see
to do
now?
better. Being reassigned to another class wasn't an
yes
option. After that
Can you see
experience, I was
Barack
determined
Obama?
to excel. Therefore, I managed to succeed within the advanced placement class by maintaining focus along with using a
Girls,
setback
can you
as
see
constructive
it?
energy.
But I can
As
see
I
the
stand before
YouTube
my peers today,
page, but we
I
can't
want
see
you to know
Obama
that
on
excellent
his face.
educational opportunities may be handed to us, but as students, we must take responsibility for our future. We
Good
may be
morning.
taught,
I
but we
would like
must
to
take
Yes.
extend a
ownership
warm
of our
welcome to
learning.
President Barack
As Senior
Obama,
Class President,
Secretary of Education
Can you see
Arnie
now?
Duncan, White.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. All right, everybody go ahead and have a seat. How's everybody doing today? How about Tim Spicer? I am here with students at Wakefield High School in Arlington, Virginia, and we've got students tuning in from all across America, from kindergarten through 12th grade. And I am just so glad that all could join us today, and I want to thank Wakefield for being such an outstanding host. Give yourselves a big round of applause. Now, I know that for many of you, today is the first day of school. And for those of you in kindergarten or starting middle or high school, it's your first day in a new school, so it's understandable if you're a little nervous. I imagine there's some seniors out there who are feeling pretty good right now, with just one more year to go. And no matter what grade you're in, some of you are probably wishing it were still summer, and you could have stayed in bed just a little bit longer this morning. I know that feeling. When I was young, my family lived overseas. I lived in Indonesia for a few years, and my mother, she didn't have the money to send me where all the American kids went to school, but she thought it was important for me to keep up with an American education. So she decided to teach me extra lessons herself, Monday through Friday, but because she had to go to work, the only time she could do it was at 4:30 in the morning. Now, as you might imagine, I wasn't too happy about getting up that early. And a lot of times I'd fall asleep right there at the kitchen table. But whenever I'd come in, my mother would just give me one of those looks and she'd say, "This is no picnic for me either, Buster." So I know that some of you are still adjusting to being back at school, but I'm here today because I have something important to discuss with you. I'm here because I want to talk with you about your education and what's expected of all of you in this new school year. I've given a lot of speeches about education, and I've talked about responsibility a lot. I've talked about teachers' responsibility for inspiring students and pushing you to learn. I've talked about your parents' responsibility for making sure you stay on track and you get your homework done and don't spend every waking hour in front of the TV or with the Xbox. I've talked a lot about your government's responsibility for setting high standards and supporting teachers and principals and turning around schools that aren't working, where students aren't getting the opportunities that they deserve. But at the end of the day, we can have the most dedicated teachers, the most supportive parents, the best schools in the world, and none of it will make a difference. None of it will matter unless all of you fulfill your responsibilities. Unless you show up to those schools, unless you pay attention to those teachers, unless you listen to your parents and grandparents and other adults and put in the hard work it takes to succeed. And that's what I want to focus on today. The responsibility each of you has for your education. I want to start with the responsibility you have to yourself. Every single one of you has something that you're good at. Every single one of you has something to offer. And you have a responsibility to yourself to discover what that is. That's the opportunity an education can provide. Maybe you could be a great writer, maybe even good enough to write a book or articles in a newspaper, but you might not know it until you write that English paper, that English class paper that's assigned to you. Maybe you could be an innovator or an inventor, maybe even good enough to come up with the next iPhone or the new medicine or vaccine, but you might not know it until you do your project for your science class. Maybe you could be a mayor or a senator or a Supreme Court justice, but you might not know that until you join student government or the debate team. And no matter what you want to do with your life, I guarantee that you'll need an education to do it. You want to be a doctor or a teacher or a police officer? You want to be a nurse or an architect, a lawyer or a member of our military? You're going to need a good education for every single one of those careers. You cannot drop out of school and just drop into a good job. You've got to train for it and work for it and learn for it. And this isn't just important for your own life and your own future. What you make of your education will decide nothing less than the future of this country. The future of America depends on you. What you're learning in school today will determine whether we as a nation can meet our greatest challenges in the future. You'll need the knowledge and problem-solving skills you learn in science and math to cure diseases like cancer and AIDS, and to develop new energy technologies and protect our environment. You'll need the insights and critical thinking skills you gain in history and social studies to fight poverty and homelessness, crime and discrimination, and make our nation more fair and more free. You'll need the creativity and ingenuity you develop in all your classes to build new companies that will create new jobs and boost our economy. We need every single one of you to develop your talents and your skills and your intellect so you can help us old folks solve our most difficult problems. If you don't do that, if you quit on school, you're not just quitting on yourself, you're quitting on your country. Now, I know it's not always easy to do well in school. I know a lot of you have challenges in your lives right now that can make it hard to focus on your schoolwork. I get it. I know what it's like. My father left my family when I was 2 years old, and I was raised by a single mom who had to work and who struggled at times to pay the bills and wasn't always able to give us the things that other kids had. There were times when I missed having a father in my life. There were times when I was lonely and I felt like I didn't fit in. So I wasn't always as focused as I should have been on school, and I did some things that I'm not proud of, and I got in more trouble than I should have. And my life could have easily taken a turn for the worse. But I was lucky. I got a lot of second chances, and I had the opportunity to go to college and law school and follow my dreams. My wife, our First Lady, Michelle Obama, she has a similar story. Neither of her parents had gone to college, and they didn't have a lot of money. But they worked hard, and she worked hard so that she could go to the best schools in this country. But some of you might not have those advantages. Maybe you don't have adults in your life who give you the support that you need. Maybe someone in your family has lost their job and there's not enough money to go around. Maybe you live in a neighborhood where you don't feel safe or have friends who are pressuring you to do things you know aren't right. But at the end of the day, the circumstances of your life, what you look like, where you come from, how much money you have, what you've got going on at home, none of that is an excuse for neglecting your homework or having a bad attitude in school. That's no excuse for talking back to your teacher or cutting class or dropping out of school. There is no excuse for not trying. Where you are right now doesn't have to determine where you'll end up. No one's written your destiny for you, because here in America, you write your own destiny. You make your own future. That's what young people like you are doing every day all across America. Young people like Jasmine Perez from Roma, Texas. Jasmine didn't speak English when she first started school. Neither of her parents had gone to college, but she worked hard, earned good grades, and got a scholarship to Brown University, as now in graduate school studying public health, on her way to becoming Dr. Jasmine Perez. I'm thinking about Andoni Schultz from Los Altos, California, who's fought brain cancer since he was 3. He's had to endure all sorts of treatments and surgeries, one of which affected his memory, so it took him much longer, hundreds of extra hours to do his schoolwork. But he never fell behind. He's headed to college this fall. And then there's Chantel Steve from my hometown of Chicago, Illinois. Even when bouncing from foster home to foster home in the toughest neighborhoods in the city, she managed to get a job at a local health care center, start a program to keep young people out of gangs, and she's on track to graduate high school with honors and go on to college. And Jasmine, Andoni, and Chantel aren't any different from any of you. They face challenges in their lives just like you do. In some cases, they've got it a lot worse off than many of you. But they refused to give up. They chose to take responsibility for their lives, for their education, and set goals for themselves. And I expect all of you to do the same. That's why today I'm calling on each of you to set your own goals for your education and do everything you can to meet them. Your goal can be something as simple as doing all your homework, paying attention in class, or spending some time each day reading a book. Maybe you'll decide to get involved in an extracurricular activity or volunteer in your community. Maybe you'll decide to stand up for kids who are being teased or bullied because of who they are or how they look. Because you believe, like I do, that all young people deserve a safe environment to study and learn. Maybe you'll decide to take better care of yourself so you can be more ready to learn. And along those lines, by the way, I hope all of you are washing your hands a lot and that you stay home from school when you don't feel well so we can keep people from getting the flu this fall and winter. But whatever you resolve to do, I want you to commit to it. I want you to really work at it. I know that sometimes you get that sense from TV that you can be rich and successful without any hard work, that your ticket to success is through rapping or basketball or being a reality TV star. Chances are you're not going to be any of those things. The truth is, being successful is hard. You won't love every subject that you study. You won't click with every teacher that you have. Not every homework assignment will seem completely relevant to your life right at this minute. And you won't necessarily succeed at everything the first time you try. That's okay. Some of the most successful people in the world are the ones who've had the most failures. J.K. Rowling's, who wrote Harry Potter, her first Harry Potter book was rejected 12 times before it was finally published. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. He lost hundreds of games and missed thousands of shots during his career. But he once said, "I have failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed." These people succeeded because they understood that you can't let your failures define you. You have to let your failures teach you. You have to let them show you what to do differently the next time. So if you get into trouble, that doesn't mean you're a troublemaker. It means you need to try harder to act right. If you get a bad grade, that doesn't mean you're stupid. It just means you need to spend more time studying. No one's born being good at all things. You become good at things through hard work.
Miss, the period's
You're not a
finished.
varsity athlete the first
Yes.
time you play a new sport.
Okay,
You don't
guys, it
hit
is
every
almost
note the first
finished
time you
now.
sing a
3
song.
minutes.
You've got to practice. The same principle applies to your schoolwork. You might have to do a math problem a few times before you get it right. You might have to read something a few times before you understand it. You definitely have to do a few drafts of a paper before it's good enough to hand in. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. I do that every day. Asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength, because it shows you have the courage to admit when you don't know something, and that allows you to learn something new. So find an adult that you trust, a parent, a grandparent, or a teacher, a coach, or a counselor, and ask them to help you stay on track to meet your goals. And even when you're struggling, even when you're discouraged, and you feel
Teacher,
like
I'm sorry, I
other
need to
people have
leave.
given up on you,
Yes.
don't
Me
ever
too.
Okay.
give up on
All of
yourself.
you want to leave? But it is finishing anyway.
I have a
Didn't you
project I
like
wanna.
it, girls?
Yes, Miss, me too.
Miss,
Yes?
it's fine if you want to complete it. I'm
Miss,
free.
لا أنا I need to go.
These who want to go, leave. I will just continue it 2 minutes more. Leave. Those who want to leave, leave.
Because when you give up on yourself, you give up on your country. The story of America isn't about people who quit when things got tough. People who kept going, who tried harder, who loved their country too much to do anything less than their best. It's the story of students who sat where you sit 250 years ago and went on to wage a revolution, and they founded this nation. Young people. Students who sat where you sit 75 years ago, who overcame a depression and won a world war, who fought for civil rights and put a man on the moon. Students who sat where you sit 20 years ago, who founded Google and Twitter and Facebook and changed the way we communicate with each other. So today, I want to ask all of you, what's your contribution going to be? What problems are you going to solve? What discoveries will you make? What will a president who comes here in 20 or 50 or 100 years say about what all of you did for this country? You know, your families, your teachers, and I are doing everything we can to make sure you have the education you need to answer these questions. I'm working hard to fix up your classrooms and get you the books and the equipment and the computers you need to learn. But you've got to do your part too. So I expect all of you to get serious this year. I expect you to put your best effort into everything you do. I expect great things from each of you. So don't let us down. Don't let your family down or your country down. Most of all, don't let yourself down. Make us all proud. Thank you very much.
I loved it, girls. I loved it. It's so inspiring. Don't let yourself down. Don't let your family down. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yalla, go, girls, go. Go. We'll discuss it
Thank
next
you.
time.
Bye.
See you. Bye.